Hi, Jerry Catapang here from Missouri, USA, and I'd like to have this opportunity to share with you my experience um, in COVID-19, how I healed and how I recovered, and how I survived, the virus. And at first I was quite hesitant to do the video, but every time I think about my recovery, every time I think about my survival from the virus, I could not stop also thinking the people who passed on, and I also could not stop thinking about the people who are struggling right now. So it's nice to be able to, to share this information because everything right now is so uncertain. It's so unknown. As a matter of fact, the the patient who I was exposed to, I saw him, a few days ago, and the things that he did, and thank goodness he also survived and he was able to overcome the virus. But the things that he did, to overcome the virus is quite different from from the approach that I did. Although we have the same medical doctor, isn't that interesting? Because it really depends on your medical condition. So and your immunity when you're exposed. So, it's quite important for you. We're going to be talking about some things, that I did. It's a good information. And I also would like to encourage other, coronavirus survivor to share to share their information, because we need a collective information on how we can fight this virus and win it completely, because everything's uncertain, So, as a matter of fact, I was communicating with my primary care physician yesterday. They just found out, that there's some people who were exposed, some healthcare workers who were exposed, and they were asymptomatic, but they had uh, to suffer from stroke. You know, so I mean, it's quite important to collect all this data, all this information, so we can help each other, overcome this challenge. But just be sure that every time you get an information, be sure to talk and consult with your medical doctor, especially before trying anything for the first time, because it can be a contraindication to the medications that you are taking, and it can be a contraindication to the condition or the disease that you have. So before trying anything for the first time, be sure to consult with your doctor. Just like for my case, I, my friends who are affected by the virus, I found out that most of them have hypertension and are in maintenance for hypertension, and have diabetes. And I am the same boat. I'm pre-diabetic and I'm taking maintenance for my hypertension. So maybe we're more we're more vulnerable to the virus. We don't know that at this point, But if you have that condition, just be sure to be more careful and stay at home. And I'm saying this, because when we found out about my patient being positive, everybody, in the clinic where I work, which I commend my employer, for being proactive and following all the regulations of CDC in our county, in our region, in the United States, because the moment that patient called, we went home right away and we quarantined ourselves for at least 14 days. And what happened was the next day, the entire facility was disinfected, and after that, a new crew, a new staff, medical staff, took over, for the time that all of our staff are quarantined. So if you're an employer, please be sure that you follow all the CDC rules and all the regulations, to protect, your employees, and also to prevent the spread of the virus. And it's good, that I stayed home, because the second day I was quarantined, that was the time that I started to experience the symptoms. I started having the cough, the next day, and as a matter of fact, I was kind of concerned about it, because I don't want to be the spread. I don't want to be the spread of the virus. So I contacted my primary care physician, and as a matter of fact, I started coughing that day. That's why I was a little scared, and I'm starting to have the the body aches and the malaise. So I went and saw him, and told him about my symptoms. And that day, my oxygen saturation was low. So what he did is, he did the test on a Thursday, and that Saturday, the county nurse, of our county here in Missouri called me and said, Jerry, your test came out to be positive. So that day, my cough was getting worse. I have a little bit difficulty of breathing, and actually that night and the night after that Sunday, I have a very, very scary, episode, because what happens is if you have the virus, the most important thing for you to know is if you have a shortness of breath, the first thing that you need to do is, especially if you're going to walk from your bed to your bathroom, it's automatic emergency room. You got to go to the ER right away. And, of course, my physician told me that. And when I'm starting to have that condition, it was really scary. It was an awful, horrible, terrible feeling, because, what my medical doctor told me, Jerry, you got to go to the emergency room when that happens. And you got to really take care of yourself. You got to take care of yourself, because what happens is, you know, uh, when you have that shortness of breath, you can be in a ventilator, and if you're in a ventilator, your survival rate is 20%. It means 80% I can die. 80% the virus can get me, and I only have 20% rate of survival, and that's scary. And that's something, I appreciate my medical doctor for saying so, because you got to really be realistic. Unless you know it, you won't be extra careful, and I appreciate him for saying that, but you also have to battle that mentally, mentally. Mentally, you have to fight that. You have to overcome that fear, especially if you're experiencing the symptoms. Those 2 nights I could not breathe. So that's a battle. That's why I would like to share with you. That for anyone to overcome this, it's not just physical. You got to take care of 3 things at the same time. You got to take care of your body, your health, your mind, and your spirit. You got to take care of those 3 things, because if you know that you have 20% of survival if this get worse, how can you battle that? You got to be strong, mentally as well. So you got to battle that. You got to overcome that. And that is quite important to know, because you got to combine all those 3, and I want to talk about it a little bit, here, but I would like to share with you how I was able to, overcome it physically, and I'm so blessed, that my physician's good, and we have the good medication here, in the United States. But I'm gonna tell you the generic drug that I took, but again, you gotta, it may not be the right medication for you, so you gotta really seek medical advice before trying anything. My medical doctor gave me Mucinex. The generic name for Mucinex is guaifenesin, and what it is it's a medication that can thin your mucus, and with the coronavirus, it's quite important, because the mucus formation can lead to plugs that can block your airway, that would lead to the to the detrimental, fatal, condition of having the shortness of breath. So if it's gonna thin your mucus, medically, that's important for you to prevent the shortness of breath. So again, it's Mucinex. The generic name is guaifenesin. And I'm gonna put it, on the bottom of this video down below, so you can have a reference. And so I started taking it Saturday, but Monday I started having more cough symptoms, and it's kind of scary, because it's going to be those 2 symptoms that can lead to the shortness of breath. The mucus plugs and your coughing can lead to the shortness of breath. So I was a little scared. So I called him that Monday and told him that when I have the influenza flu, the Thessalon pearls really work for me. So he prescribed it to me Monday, and Thessalon pearls is actually the name for the medication, but the generic name is actually sodium benzanoate, and it helps one prevent coughing. And so after a couple of days, Wednesday, Thursday, that next week I started feeling better. Although I still have the weakness and the fever, and I lost my appetite and I lost my sense of smell. So but I knew the medication was right for me. And it makes a lot of sense because if the mucus plugs are prevented and your mucus are being thinned because of the mucinex, that will help you prevent the complications of shortness of breath. And of course, my coughing was controlled, especially after 5 6 days after taking the Tessalon Pearl. So it really helped me. So that is quite important to know. But again, it may not be the right medication for you, but I am so blessed that the right medication was provided for me. And of course, for my fever, and my Malay, I took Tylenol, you know, and that's the medical, that's the medical side of things that helped me, physically, my body. But of course, I took some supplements, and of course, I took vitamin D. I took vitamin C, lots of that, and of course, I took a multivitamins that helped me recover. So that would be on the medical side. And again, I'm so blessed that I was able to be provided with the right medication, for the condition that I have and the symptoms that can be detrimental and fatal. So those were the things that I took medically. You know, uh, Medical help is great, but I also believe in the natural. I believe that because nothing can really beat nature. And I grew up in the Philippines. Although I've lived here in the States for more than half of my life, there's some things that we believe in the natural in combination with the medical, and I think that's quite important. So and I can share the condition and the situation we're in. I know it helped me. So for the natural, what I did is the two most important things that I did was I boiled some water, and I put my face directly as close as I can to the steam, of the boiling water. And the rationale for that is, you probably have heard, that the virus doesn't like heat. And during the quarantine, I don't have a dryer, which they suggest. I don't have that. So what I did was I boiled some water, and I put my face directly as close as possible to the steam to open my airways. I open my mouth. I try to open my nose as much as I can. So the steam would come in, and I think it helped me for about 10 15 minutes. 4 or 5 times a day I did that, and there's a situation that I know it helped me because I had a little bit of setback in the end of my quarantine days. So that helped me. The steam really helped me, and it's something that you can probably try. But again, still ask your medical doctor if there's something that you can do. Another thing that helped me is the ginger root. The ginger root, we use this a lot in the Philippines. So I boil some ginger root, you know, and I drank the juice, of the ginger root that I boiled and put some lemon and some honey. It's an anti-inflammatory, so it helps with the coughing. It helped with my sore throat. So those are the two things that I did on the natural side. But of course, in conjunction with that, growing up in the Philippines, my mom would always give us Vicks VapoRub if we don't, if we have the coughing, if we cannot breathe that good. But this really helped me. And for the right application, I remember my mom always tells me, put some on your chest, put some on your back, and put some here to help you with your breathing. And if you have the difficulty breathing, you will try anything. And I've proven that since I was little. So I use Vicks VapoRub, in conjunction with the ginger root, juice, and also the steam treatment. But of course, I also ate a lot of orange and ate a lot of lemon. I mean, lemon, yeah, I ate some, but I also had a lot of lemon juice. It's something that I did on, that I had on a daily basis. So combining, the medical and the natural helped me, and I started feeling better, after a week, and that is really, really a huge blessing, to be able to have that result in a week time. And of course, as I mentioned to you earlier, you gotta combine, you have to combine the medical, with the mental and the spiritual. So what I did, to protect myself mentally is, I stopped listening to, the news. um, I don't want to, I don't want to scare myself more with all the data and all the information that X amount of people have passed away, X amount of people have been infected. I don't want to hear that. I want to protect my mind. I want to have the strong mind. So I stopped doing that. I listened to a lot of, classical music. You know, um, I did a lot of meditation and yoga. That kind of helped me, and I did a lot of affirmations, and I did a lot of the healing affirmations of Catherine Ponders. You can find it in YouTube. So mentally that strengthened me, and with the physical and the mental, that helped me through the recovery process. And one thing that I forgot to tell you about the physical part is, taking care of my body. I also did a lot of padding. You just have to. There's a 4-minute exercise program that I posted on my Facebook, that you just have to, to pat your extremities, the front of your body, your back, so on and so forth, your legs. It will increase the circulation and the lymphatic and the blood circulation, of our body, to increase our immunity, and that really helped me. And I suggest that you do that, especially if you're quarantined, to do the padding, and also a lot of cupping. I cup my lungs, to be able to increase the circulation of my lungs. So that is also very helpful, for taking care of my body during the recovery process. So combining, the medical, the natural, for taking care of the physical, and of course having a strong mind by trying to be positive as much as possible, to fight all the horrible, you know, um, um, possible things that can happen to you. You really have to overcome that mentally, strongly, as part of the recovery. And those 2 nights that I almost went to the emergency room, when you can not breathe, and you breathe and you cannot continue breathing, it's impossible not to be spiritual. You know, I started praying more, because it's impossible for you to not experience uh, being spiritual, knowing that you are not alone, knowing that, someone created you, someone is more powerful than you, and 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 you needed help. There's something that you need help from a powerful source when you couldn't breathe. So I prayed a lot, and that's quite important. I think it's the third ingredient of the recovery process. Combining the physical, the spiritual, and the mental. And I think that's the complete ingredient for my full recovery. And now, when I was about to be released from isolation and from quarantine, well, before that too, I want to let you know that, I had a little bit of setback, because 4 or 5 days, before I was released, I started feeling cold again, starting to have a fever. And what I did is I tried to fight it, and I did not take any Tylenol for it. And what I did is, I tried, because this can be a good information, for anyone struggling. I went the natural, because I started, by the way, I started having my taste and my taste and my sense of smell back. So I know I'm better. So I went the natural, and I tried it for 1.5 days, and I lost the symptom. I didn't have the symptom of coldness and, like the fever starting. So I know, what I tried to do on the natural side helped me. And of course, combining the natural with the medical is the key, for taking care of my body. So anyway, when I was, being close to be released, you know, I was very thankful, but also I was sad, because, one of the things that I did was I stayed in contact with my friends. But of course, you got to protect your mind and be positive, right? Because it's a struggle, especially when you are hearing that, some of the people that you know and are close to you uh, have passed on. So it's a mixed feeling, and I realize, that, unfortunately, there are fatalities when we're struggling to fight this virus. But what I realized is those guys who didn't make it, those guys who passed on, their big mission, their God's mission in life, they have accomplished, and they did well. That's why they're not here anymore. They're in heaven. I have to accept the fact, because I'm still struggling. I'm still not fully healed yet. So I have to think about that, and have to realize that we all have a mission anyway, and their mission they have accomplished. And for us who made it, or for us who were not affected, for us who recovered and got healed, you know what? I realized we do still have a mission. We just, and during these challenging times, for sure, we all learn from this experience, whether you got the virus or not, and that experience hopefully made us a better person. So one thing that I try to stay faithful and hopeful, is that we will have the vaccine soon. And together, let's pray for that. Let's pray for that the vaccine will be here soon, because that's the only treatment, for this coronavirus, is the vaccine for it. So let's continue praying for it, and hopefully we will have it as soon as it can be possible. I know, healthcare professionals all over the world are trying for it. So let's pray for it. And I know together we will overcome this. And one thing that I want to share with you that keeps me very hopeful and faithful is because I know our God is bigger than the virus, and our God loves us, and He has a mission for us. Hopefully, this video provided some good information, and I encourage others to share, their experience as well, so we can collect information, on how people can survive from the virus, and hopefully we will get to know more about it and completely win this battle against COVID-19. Thank you for the privilege of your time, and I hope you find this beneficial, especially those who are struggling. We will continue to pray for each other. Have a wonderful day. Stay well and stay healthy. Jerry Catapang from Missouri, USA. Have a great day.